back, Lousy Llama Creations. Today we're going to be crocheting a sea otter. For this project, you're going to need medium weight 4 yarn in brown, tan, and blue, a little bit of black, 10mm safety eyes, stitch marker, tapestry needle, scissors, stuffing, and a 5mm crochet hook. When I start this video, you're going to see me working in yellow yarn, and that's because I am using the same clips from the bee tutorial, just because I liked how I explained it. So I'm going to use those clips, and then I will switch back to the otter when I start showing everything else. Let's jump into the tutorial. All right, so we're going to start with our yellow yarn, and we're going to start by making a magic ring or a magic circle. It's the same thing. I'm going to take my crochet hook. I have my yarn. This is our tail, our dead end, the end of your yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to the ball or the skein. You're going to take it and wrap it around your hand to form an X. You're going to hold it in the middle. Hook goes under, then over, and we're going to scoop this underneath. Just like that. We're going to twist it up and pull it off our hands. And then do this thing called a chain, which is when we pull our yarn through our loop. So I'm going to put the yarn on the crochet hook and pull through. And that's our magic ring. But let me show you again. I have my tail, wrap around to make an X, hold in the middle, under, over, pull through, twist up, and then do our chain. We're then going to make 6 single crochets in this loop. Our single crochets are one of the smallest, most basic stitches of crochet. You'll find it in tons of the stuffed animal or amigurumi patterns. Crocheters love single crochets. To do one, you're going to insert your hook in the middle of the loop, yarn over, which is when we place the yarn on top of the hook, pull through. So we have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops. And that's 1 single crochet. So again, I'm going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's a second. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was stitch 3. So I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. Each stitch is this little V, little oval. Can't see it too well on the sides. If I pull it apart a little bit, you can see that's a stitch. I'm going to take my tail and pull it so that it actually forms this cute little ring. And now we have the start of our crochet piece. These are our stitch markers, which are like little clothespin, safety pin looking things. Safety pins, not clothespins. Look at things. We're going to attach it into the last stitch that we made, that V. Close it up. This is going to help us find the beginning and the end when we're working in our rounds. Because we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're just going to keep on going around and around and around. So this will make sure we know the beginning and the end of each round. Our magic ring with the 6 single crochets, that was 1 round. So now we're going on to round 2. Which according to our pattern says increase 6 times. An increase is just 2 single crochets next to each other. So we have 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, we should have 12. So we're going to put 2 stitches in each of the 6, so that we have 12. So we're just doubling it. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch that we made. The first one's always a little tight. It's not you, it's the crochet piece. Just kind of wiggle, stick it in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through again. So I have 1 single crochet. Before we move on, I'm going to stick my crochet hook in the same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we have 2 in 1 stitch. I like to picture it like a little flower, so we have like a small beginning, but then we want even petals on the side, so it kind of gets bigger evenly. I'm going to move to the next stitch. Again, I'm working in a spiral, so I'm literally just scooting over and do another increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then in the same hole, doing a second. And then I'll do that again. And again. Moving over. I'm in my last one, and this is my cat Cashew. He likes to help with videos sometimes. I'm sure his sister Peanut's gonna help too. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm gonna do our increase. And then I'm going to put the stitch marker back in to the new end of the round. So we're kind of moving it up each time. And now we have this small little circle, which is round 1 and round 2. You should have 12 single crochets at the end of this round. And you can count them by looking at those V's. Grab my tapestry needle. So like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this all the way around, so you have 12. The next round, round 3, it says we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. And there's a comma in that bracket, which is important. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're done with that. In the next stitch, that comma means we're moving over. We're going to be doing an increase, which is again those 2 single crochets. So this repetition for the round is a little series of 3. 1 and then an increase. Or in my head sometimes I'll say double. So 1 and then a double. And we're going to repeat this. So the next stitch we're going to do 1, and then the next stitch a double or an increase. And we're going to do this for the whole round. So 1, and then a double. One, then a double. And I know I'm crocheting fast. Hey, I've done it since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, 1, pause this video. I will still be here for you. As well as that in the corner, the little gears button, you can change the speed. So yeah, I'll sound a little funny, but you can watch me slow down these stitches and it might be a little easier. You can see at the end, I removed my stitch marker, did my last increase, and then I'm going to put it back. And our circle's getting a little rounder, a little bigger. You can tell it kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. No biggie. If it's curling up a lot, you might have messed up the pattern a little bit. You might have put too many increases. So you might want to take it out and kind of make sure you're counting. At the end of this row, you should have 18. Another thing to remember, this is our tail from that very beginning magic ring. This is the inside. So if you're looking at it and you're like, mine's kind of ugly, my stitches aren't clean, this tail's in the way, what am I doing? Boop, just turn it around. If you followed my tutorial for my crochet plants, a lot of people will show me their crocheted pot and they'll be like, hey, mine's ugly and it doesn't sit weird and it sits super weird and it's off. And then I'm like, flip it inside out. Boom. They did amazing work and they did it right. You just gotta flip it around. Next round, you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. It says 2 single crochets and then an increase. So single crochet 2 is different than an increase. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. In newer crochet patterns, as in the past 10 years, you'll notice the word increase. Sometimes people use 2 single crochets instead. I find that confusing. If you follow any Lousy Llama crochet patterns, I will always say increase versus single crochet 2. If I'm saying single crochet 2, I mean 1 and then 1 and then an increase. Well, let's not get confusing here. So we're going to do 1, 1, and then an increase. One, 1, and then an increase. And we'll do this for the whole round. One, 1, increase. One, 1, increase. 1, 1, take out the marker, increase. And then put it back in. And now we have a bigger circle. Again, you can see mine curving a little bit, that's okay. The next round, we're going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. So we're going to do 1, 1, 1, so 1, 1, 1, and then an increase. And we're going to do this for the whole round. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. And if you're wondering, yes, this is what I'm thinking in my head when I crochet pieces like this. So while I'm talking right here, back in my mind, I'm like 1, 2, 3, increase. And that's kind of how I'm keeping track. You don't have to count that big total number of stitches unless you want at the end of each round, but you don't have to keep that in your mind. There's my increase. So yeah, crochet is a lot of counting, but it's usually nothing too high, at least for my crochet patterns. Boom. If you're wondering what I'm doing when I pull it off screen, I'm just pulling more yarn out of my skein, or my ball, or my cake, or whatever you want to call it. All right, I just finished 3 single crochets, 1 increase, and now we're going to be doing 4 rounds of single crochet. So I have my stitch marker. Normally we put it in the last stitch we just made, but because we're going to be doing a few rounds of single crochet, we can actually put it on the side of our stitch, and then we don't have to move it up every single time. This only works if you're doing rounds of single crochet. When you do rounds with increases or decreases, it doesn't quite work because you need those rounds to be very exact. So for the next 4 rounds, we're going to place 1 single crochet in every stitch. No increases or anything like that. You're literally just going to go around and around, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4 times. I'm going to work around and then I'll show you what we'll do with the stitch marker. It is super easy because the answer is we're not going to do anything with the stitch marker, but I want to show you what the rounds look like once you get past that marker. All right, coming back around, I'm just gonna keep on going, keep on making those single crochets. And moving around. So now when I look at this, I know this was the start of the first round, so this is round 1, and we'll do this for a total of 4 rounds. Here it is after the 4 rounds. We're then going to do 3 more rounds, but we're going to do it in this light tan color. So I'm going to show you how to change colors. Changing colors for a project like this in single crochet, it's exactly like making the single crochet stitch. First, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, so you have 2 loops. Instead of yarning over with our brown, we're going to yarn over with our tan. I kind of loop it on and hold it with my hand as I pull through. I'm going to tighten the brown. I'm then going to do my next stitch in this tan. Just like that. And I could do another few. But see, we just changed the yarn that we were using. So on the back here, I'm going to cut the brown, leaving plenty of room. I'm going to tie a little square knot, but make sure it's not too tight. And then I could tuck all of those strands inside. And then we can continue crocheting for 3 rounds with this tan. When you're coming back around, instead of using the stitch marker, you should line it up with the color change, just so it's nice and neat and pretty and organized. So I'll show the beginning and the end of the rounds with this point. So go ahead and do 3 rounds of single crochet with this tan. Here's what our piece looks like with the 3 rounds of tan. We're now going to add our eyes. So I'm just going to set my hook to the side for a minute, grab my 10mm safety eyes. I'm going to put these eyes in the round above the color change. So this was our color change. I'm going to go in the round above, about 7 stitches apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kind of looks like a hamster right now. I'm going to check this. This was my sample, so I'm just going to double check. I think I'm actually going to move them down so it's on the color change line. Yeah, I think that looks better. So I'm going to do it on the color change line, about 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to add on my backs. We're going to do the embroidery of the nose and the smile a little bit later because it'll be a little easier once it's stuffed. But we have to add the eyes now because once we close up our piece, we can't put the eyes in because obviously you have the back. It needs to be done before you finish. So I'm going to put my hook back in, move my stitch marker back up to the last stitch we made. And we're going to start these things called decreases. Increases are 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. Decrease is combining 2 stitches into 1. And we're just going to do the opposite of what we did to start. So the last rounds of increases we did 3 single crochets and then an increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets and then a decrease. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 for our single crochets and then a decrease. To do decrease, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. So you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, just like that. So I'm going to do my 3 again. 1, 2, 3, and the decrease. So insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. So you have 3, yarn over, pull through all 3. And I'm going to do this sequence all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease. With the decrease, you want to make sure you are pulling tight. Just because you are combining 2 stitches together, you don't want too many gaps. A lot of gaps in crocheting come from when you're doing the decreases. It is a skill you will master in time, but for now we're just going to try to pull nice and tight. My last one is I'm going to take out my stitch marker and do that decrease. Put the marker back in. The next round is going to be doing 2 single crochets and then the decrease. So we're going to do 1, 2, and then our decrease. 1, 2, decrease. And I'm going to do this for the whole round. My last one for this round, taking out the marker, doing that decrease. We're going to be doing one more round of decreases. It's going to be 1 single crochet and then our decrease. So 1, and then our decrease, 1, and the decrease all the way around. One more. And decrease. For this project, we're not going to close this up all the way because of the way it attaches to the body, but we are going to leave a nice long tail. We're going to cut our yarn and do this thing called fastening off, which is when we pull this loop so it's not a loop anymore. And it's just like this. We're going to stuff them a little bit later when we do the body, but for now, this is how you do the head. For the body of our otter, we are going to start the exact same way that we started the head. So I'm going to go a little faster here. If you need to, go ahead and pause this video, go back to the beginning and rewatch it. But it's going to be the exact same thing. We're going to do a magic ring, our chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pull that nice and tight. Do 6 increases, which is when we put 2 single crochets in one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Gonna put my marker in. We're gonna do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and an increase, 1, and an increase, 1, increase, 1, increase, 1, increase, 1, taking out my marker, increase, the next round is going to be 2 single crochet, 1 increase, so 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, if you've been following along, you probably know what the next round's going to be. It is going to be 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Putting my marker back in. 1, 2, 3, and then an increase all the way around. My last increase. I'm gonna put my marker on the side again because we're gonna be doing 4 rounds of single crochet. When I said it was like just like the star of the head, I meant it. It's exactly the same. So go ahead and do 4 rounds of single crochet, just 1 stitch in each stitch, all the way around 4 rounds. Here's after the 4 rounds. I'm going to move my stitch marker up to the last stitch I made. We're going to do 3 single crochets and then a decrease. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Again, that decrease is insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. So you have 3, yarn over, pull through all 3. We'll do that for the round of 3 single crochets and then a decrease. One, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and our last decrease. Putting my marker back on the side, we're then going to do 4 more rounds of single crochet, 1 single crochet into every stitch for a total of 4 rounds. For the next round, I'm going to take out my marker and add it back to the top. We're going to be doing 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, and we'll do this all the way around. For the last round, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet round. So again, just 1 single crochet into every single stitch for this 1 round. Do my last stitch. We're going to be using this tail for sewing, so I'm going to leave it nice and long. Cut it, fasten off by pulling through. And there we have the body. For the tail, we're going to start once again with that magic ring, that chain 1 and 6 single crochets. I'm still using that brown caramel color. Do my 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Close it up. Next round is going to be 6 single crochets. I'm not going to use a marker just because it's so small, it's easier to count in my head, but 1 single crochet in every stitch for 6 stitches, 1 round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's starting to turn out on me a little bit, so I'm just going to push it out so that magic ringtail is on the inside. The next round is going to be 6 increases with 2 single crochets in 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm then going to put my stitch marker on the side. And I'm going to do 8 rounds of single crochet. Because this is so small, you want to make sure you're not skipping any stitches because that will make your piece a lot smaller. If your middle tail is getting in the way, you can trim it. Don't trim it too close, just a little bit to give us some wiggle room. You're going to do 8 rounds of single crochet, 1 stitch in each one, all the way around for a total of 8 rounds. Here's our funny little tail, cutting that nice long tail for sewing, fastening off, and taking out our marker. And now we have our tail. For the arms and the legs and the ears, they are all the same. They are this magic ring with 6 single crochets. So it's gonna be just like the beginning of all of our pieces so far. You're gonna make that magic ring, chain 1, 6 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Gonna pull it nice and tight. Leave a long tail for sewing. Fasten off, and that's how you're gonna make them. You're gonna wanna make a total of 6 of these little guys. For assembling our piece, I'm gonna start with the head and I'm gonna stuff it. Trick to stuffing is to pull it apart into small clumps and place it individually, as opposed to shoving a giant clump or ball of stuffing in it. This method uses less stuffing and makes your pieces look fuller and fluffier. So I'm just gonna pull apart smaller pieces and place it inside. You're going to want to do this exact same thing with the body as well. Because this is an otter, I want his head to be insanely round, because that's what I think of when I think of little sea otters. So I'm going to kind of shape it with my hand as I'm stuffing, making sure I get that stuffing right on the sides so that it's nice and round, just like that. For the body, I do want it to be round, but not quite as round. I want it to be a little longer. So I'm gonna stuff making sure I'm pushing that stuffing down so I can make the body nice and long. Just like that. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Oh my gosh, stunning. You're not gonna stuff the tail or any other pieces for this project. I'm gonna take my tapestry needle or my yarn needle, this big plastic yarn needle that came in your crochet kits. I'm gonna put the tail of the body onto my needle. I'm gonna start sewing the head to the body. I'm kind of just gonna hold it together like a little sandwich, little bowling pin. I'm trying to put my tails in the back, and I'm going to stitch onto the head and the body, just to get me started. How I like to sew pieces like this is body to head, and then back down through the same body stitch. So body to head, back down through the body. I'm going to do this all the way around. You can also add extra stuffing as it gets closer to the end, and that will kind of give you some more neck support if you need it. But I think it's significantly easier for me to sew on pieces if I hold this on my lap. So I'm going to sew it majority of the way around, add some extra stuffing, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish it off. With this little hole in the back, I can add some more stuffing if I so desire. And then I can finish going around. Back down. Up. And back down. Alrighty, I am all the way around. He is nice and secure, he's not going anywhere. I'm gonna hide this tail by sticking it into the body, going through down a couple inches, and then cutting the tail. He's starting to look like an otter. For the tail, I'm going to sew it on a little differently. You can use the same method if you want, but I like to have certain pieces have more movement. And so for this one, I'm going to do a whip stitch. So I'm going to line it up so that my tail is on the back and it's nice and flat. And I'm going to go around and around and around to like move it down a little bit. So I'm going to do body to tail, body to tail. And when I go through the tail, I'm going through both layers. So kind of like when I squished it, I'm going through both of them. I'm pulling nice and tight. Let's check it out. Yeah, so now it kind of moves around so he can swim. I'm gonna do one more stitch here. I don't like how this looks, so I'm actually gonna poke it through the body, come out the other side, and add an extra stitch there while I weave in my tail. Yeah, that looks really good. And then cut it off. For the ears and the arms and the tail, I'm going to do it the same way of that whip stitch. I only have one made right now, so I'm just going to show you how to sew on one, but it is all the same technique. You're just going to have 2 on the sides, 2 here, and then 2 going up and down here. So for the ear, I'm going to hold it where I want it, and I'm going to do that whip stitch of through the ear, through the head, through the ear, through the head. But because these are so small, you can sew them on however you want. We just want to make sure we are also weaving in or hiding the second tail from the ear and all the smaller pieces. Like that. I'm then going to grab some black yarn. If you're following one of my kits, you have a beautiful little black bundle in there. I just have a skein I'm working with right now, but I'm going to cut a nice long piece. Put it on my tapestry needle. I'm going to start from the back of my head, and I'm going to start with the nose. I'm going to go from one corner of the nose, pulling my black through, but not all the way through. And I'm going to make straight stitches for the nose. I like to think of my embroidery as drawing. So I always say like, oh, I'm going to draw the nose on with these straight lines. Nice and thick nose. The face is what really makes us look like an otter and not a monkey or any other animal. Like that. I have my example here. He has a little piece that goes down. So I'm going to draw that line. And then go to the corner where I'm going to go down and then back up to that line. And repeat the same thing on the other side, making sure it's nice and lined up. Go down. And then for these, you can go over it another time. I don't like these to be as thick as the nose, but I definitely like to go over them at least twice so that he's nice and clean and lined up. And then I'm going to hide the tail by pushing through the back. I want to cut these in the back, but you can see them. That's okay. I'm just going to shove it through with my scissors or my tapestry needle or my crochet hook or anything and poke it through. Now I still need to add the other ears and arms, but first let's make the shell. If you've ever crocheted a rectangle, this is how you would do it. I'm going to make a slip knot, insert my hook, tighten it, and then chain 7. And that chain is when we pull the yarn through the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're then going to turn our work and work in the opposite direction and single crochet 6 across. We're going to skip that 7th chain we just made and go into the 6th and put our hook somewhere in that 6th chain and make a single crochet. And then go next to the next chain, single crochet, and down again. So you have a total of 6 stitches. We had 7 chains, but just 6 stitches because we skipped that first one. That is called a turning chain, and it just kind of helps us turn our work around. So I have 6 little stitches. We're going to do that chain 1 again. This one's also a turning chain. Turn our work, and we're going to work in the back loop only. Normally when we've been crocheting, we've been going through both loops, front and back. But for this, we're just going to go in the back and make single crochets. So again, I want to go into the back and make a single crochet. I'm going to do this for 7 rows. Going in the back, single crochet. This is what is going to give us like the little ridges for our shell. Chain 1 and turn. That was our first row of the back loop, so I'm still going to work in the back loop. That was 2. I'm going to do this for a total of 7. All in the back loop. This is 4. Five. This is 6, which is our 7th row total. Our first one counted. Technically, this is our 7th row total. I want both of my tails to be on the same side. So what I mean by that is that once I cut this, it will be on this side of the rectangle. I'll leave a nice long tail, cut, fasten off, put that tail on the tapestry needle, we're gonna weave in and out on this side through the bottom because we're doing like a little cinch closure. So I'm literally like kind of snaking it through. Doesn't have to be exact or anything like that. And pull tight. You can add a few more little stitches if you think yours needs more shaping. Well, that's our little shell. To sew it to the body, I recommend putting the arms on first, but you're just gonna hold it in place. I only sewed it on the bottom of the shell, just because that was the look that I liked. So I go like through the shell, through the body, just a few times, just so it stays put. And I'll repeat with this tail as well. And just like that, I'm gonna cut my tails, rub those in, and boom, now you have a little sea otter. Thank you so much for joining me as we made little Ollie the otter. I hope you had a great time making your adorable little sea otter. If you want to stay up to date on everything Lousy Llama, go ahead and follow us on TikTok at Lousy Llama Creations. That's where I post everything about new kits, projects, sales, tutorials, and everything that's happening. Thank you so much for joining me on this tutorial. Again, my name is Kendall, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!